Do you notice it? Do you notice that little voice inside you that tells you who you really are and asks you to be your true self? Does it whisper in the still and quiet moments of a sunrise? Or falling asleep at night? Or does it scream its message of honesty so loud that you can't ignore it even over a howling wind? Most importantly, when it tells you who you really are, do you listen?
I remember my first trip. My impression was that the Boundary Waters was the land before time. And I still get that feeling when I'm out there. It's tough to comprehend how much water there is in the Boundary Waters wilderness. You'd have to either fly over the place to see all the blue, I'm Jason Zabokrtsky. I have Ely Outfitting Company in Ely, Minnesota. We're a Boundary Waters canoe trip outfitter, so we help people from all over the country and actually all over the world come to little old Ely, Minnesota and explore my favorite place, the Boundary Waters Canoe Area Wilderness.
My name is Micah Meyer. I'm one of the organizers of this Outside Safe Space Queer Boundary Waters trip.
Well, the inspiration for the trip was because I wanted to support Micah and his Outside Safe Space program, because I liked what he's doing with, promoting welcoming spaces and the outdoors in rural communities for the LGBTQ community that I'm a part of. That spoke to me.
I felt so privileged and honored to hear from thousands of queer people around the world when I was doing my travels to all of America's National Park Service sites, and that they shared their stories with me. I wanted to make sure that I was doing something with those. This trip is a result of that.
It's just become more important to me to let other people who are outdoorsy see other people who identify as LGBTQ+, who are in that community.
So that people can experience nature fully as themselves and not have to hide parts of themselves to be in the spaces that they like to enjoy.
So the Boundary Waters is my favorite place in the world. It's a place where I feel really at home. It's over 1 million acres with no roads, no signs, no docks, no development. Just a whole lot of lakes, to the tune of over 1,000 lakes. Thousands of remote campsites where you get your own private piece of the wilderness to sit on the shoreline and look out at one of our clean lakes. It's boreal forest, so pine trees, some paper birch, and aspen, and a really kind of rugged granite topography where the glaciers scoured all of our dirt and just pushed it all down to southern Minnesota and Iowa and left us with these big granite cliffs and these amazing landscapes. There's something very grounding about the place because it's so natural. It's really all about this really, really special water. To know, that these lakes are so clean that you can literally dip your cup in the lake and drink from it. It's incredible that there are still places in the world where you can do that. And we can do it right here in northeastern Minnesota.
Curtain Falls is the largest falls in the region.
The interesting thing about the group is nobody really knew each other beforehand. You know, some people came from the West Coast, some came from the East Coast, some came from Minnesota. So we had 9 people who just kind of showed up and did introductions.
I'm just gonna step forward, step forward, step forward, step forward, a little bit.
I think the reality is we all knew that we didn't know how it was all going to come together or how our personalities were going to mesh. So our route the first day started with a half-mile long portage. So we're carrying all of our canoes and gear from the parking lot down to the Moose River. We started out paddling, and within probably 10 minutes came to our first portage. So everything back out of the canoes. And we had 3 portages before we got to our first lake, Nina Moose. But in addition to the portages, we had several beaver dams. We really spent that whole first day playing in the rain. It rained from first thing in the morning till last thing at night. Here we go. I think everybody took it in stride and kept it fun and found it a little bit challenging, but in a good way.
Ha ha ha! Hey hey! Smooth sailing. First portage.
After a full day of paddling, I was just destroyed. My neck hurt, my shoulders hurt. It had been raining all day. I couldn't stop smiling. I'm Holly. My pronouns are she, her.
Oh, hi!
I was feeling a little tired. Everybody was so supportive. I'll just take a break. Our first day was a day of building resilience, but also a fast form of trust.
Oh, you went in deep?
Yeah. It's quite muddy here.
Okay, so this is the shallow.
So that it's...
Everybody was just really looking out for each other, and it was just so immediately warm, even though it was pouring rain and cold.
You're like the maiden on the mast of this ship.
My name is Beth. My pronouns are she, her. I identify as gay and have a love of the outdoors. With the long portages, the inclement weather, like not exactly knowing where we're gonna land, but to just like, there was no, you know, maybe internal complaints and things along those lines as we like work through our aches and pains, but that was a fast forming connection in my mind. I'll always just remember I paddled that day with Jason and Micah, and as we're having conversation through the blowing wind and rain, and it's just like we can actually, you know, just we're talking about whatever comes to mind, and still with an excitement of being out in the wilderness.
We're outside, and we're out, and we're outside, and we're out.
I also feel like it was pouring rain that day, but I didn't hear anybody complain once. Like, we were all here for it. We were all in. When we saw the weather forecast going into this, it was supposed to rain for the first 3 days. And there wasn't really a lot of concern.
I've always thought that rainy days on trail are really special, because if you were back home, you'd never sort of like voluntarily put on your rain jacket and just go kind of walk around in the rain. You'd probably just stay inside and look out the window at it. So when you're on trail, the rain comes, you're just there and you're in it. Something I find sort of really joyful to just be in for the day, like, because it's such a unique experience. And I got the sense that people were having that sort of a feeling on that day, which was special to me and a really good sign that this was going to be a good trip with really, really amazing folks.
I mean, I just love how quickly people came together. I've been on a number of group trips over the years, and it usually takes a few days before people really start to warm up to each other and kind of share more deeper conversations, and that'll happen right away, day one here. And I think it's because we all sort of have that shared outsiderness. We know what it feels like to go into a room where we're the only person of our demographic, or we know what it feels like to be at a school where we're the only gay kid. And so I think when we get amongst our peers who have also dealt with that, we want to be really quick to make sure people feel welcome, because we know so deeply what it feels like to feel unwelcome that we want to give people a warm, safe place to be as soon as possible.
First canoe portage.
We kind of were really prepping ourselves for a really hard day of rain and maybe more cold than it was even going to be, and it didn't end up being quite as cold, which was very nice. But the rain definitely kind of took a toll and was kind of wearing. So my name is Lee, and I'm from Grand Marais, Minnesota, and I came on this trip to connect with community and the land here. So it was very sweet to kind of roll into our campsite and then be able to, over the next couple of days, kind of thaw out and dry out. And have things become a little more easeful, which also felt like things grew more and more comfortable with us as a group too as we kind of progressed. So it feels like it kind of paralleled each other.
We had a campsite that was really kind of expansive, lots of space for everybody to spread out and have their tent or hammock. The trees overhead kind of made for a big room underneath, so you could see quite a ways through camp. And it sort of felt like you're in a room, and sort of in the center of the room is where we decided to fly a rainbow pride flag. It was this focal point where we all came together, and we flew it next to what we called Pride Rock. And on Pride Rock were our hot drink beverages and our snack bag and things. It's where we congregated for our meals. And it sort of anchored the site, so you could see it from almost everywhere in camp. You couldn't miss it. I think we appreciated how special that was and how unique that was.
It's been really meaningful and really cool because I've never been on an outdoor trip with a totally LGBTQ plus group, and that has been really phenomenal. I feel like we all bonded really quickly because we got to skip the tough stuff. And I think in a community where people are often not feeling supported, the folks who feel less supported just jump in to support each other. So the amount of kindness that I've seen has been unlike anything else I've experienced, especially in the outdoors.
North Carolina. It's called the
We were all huddled together first night at camp. It was still raining. We're under the rain fly in the dark, just with the sort of scattered lights of headlamps, wrapping up dinner and just getting to know each other and talking with Holly and Katie. In that conversation, Katie courageously mentioned that she had almost not come on the trip because she had this concern that maybe she was not queer enough to be a part of this group. In that moment, my heart just opened because I'd had that exact same experience and that exact same concern. And am I queer enough to come on this trip? Am I queer enough to be making this story, and having sort of come out so late in life and having so much confusion around that process, to hear somebody else say it out loud just sort of blew my mind and opened me up to the realization that I'm not alone in trying to find a sense of belonging in a really clunky way here in this group of people.
So even though I've experienced the Boundary Waters in a completely different season, right, winter mainly, via skiing or dog sledding, it still feels the same. Like, I think the wilderness holds me in the same way as it always does when I'm in it, no matter where I am. Sure, it's warmer, mostly, except for when it's raining, but I had the same feeling of, sure, this feels like home to me, but like I still feel just as I'm a visitor, and I'm here to be like just to bear witness to the wilderness. And no matter what season I'm in, I try to like stay in that space. Actually, I don't even have to try to stay in that space. That's kind of the space I feel most natural to be in. And I think I feel that way because, you know, say it's raining for 24 hours. It's what the wilderness is doing. It's up to the wilderness, and like I just get to be in it, just as much as if it's a bright sunny day, or if there's a blizzard. It's the same thing. I'm Emily Ford, if you would rather, and I'm mostly here because I like the Boundary Waters a lot, and I firmly believe that everybody deserves to experience the wilderness, no matter who you are or what you look like, and so we're doing it. We have a couple people from out of state. To watch them experience the Boundary Waters for the first time is like kind of a delight. And I think that's what I'm going to remember the most, is like their response to the wilderness. Yeah.
My name's Katie. I'm from Portland, Oregon. Yeah, and I came here because this has been on my bucket list for a very long time. And I learned about the Boundary Waters through a soap company back in Ohio. So she made a soap specifically for the Boundary Waters, and that's kind of how I heard about it. And then I kind of dove into what the Boundary Waters were, and I just knew from being a paddler that like had to do it.
I loved learning about the campaign to save the Boundary Waters and the work that's doing to preserve this for other people. It's beautiful, and being able to get away from being in my head and being more in the experience of meeting new people and building new relationships, the experience of canoeing on the water, the experience of just seeing without thinking has meant a lot to me. Hello, I'm Jordan. I live in Minneapolis. I've always wanted to go to the Boundary Waters, and I've never known how. It's always felt like a little bit daunting and a few barriers. I've done quite a bit of backpacking, but the canoeing and the portaging through the water, that felt like something that, I don't know if I can do that without somebody who could teach me how. So to come with some experts who can guide was a really exciting opportunity for me.
Letting Jason just take us into his happy place was such an honor, and to do that with other really competent travelers was really fun. I felt like I was on a private trip or personal trip in so many ways, except Jason was also in charge, so it was better. My name is Matthew. I live in Grand Marais, Minnesota. I use they, them pronouns. Identify as queer.
So I felt like people were a little tense on day one for a lot of reasons on trail, But on day 2, from the moment we woke up and it was dry, I feel like their shoulder tension all kind of melted away. We were able to really be more present with where we were and who we were with.
3, 2, 1.
Swimming in these waters here is always this immersive, magical, cleansing, beautiful experience. So I just do it as much as I can. And to do it with other people who are experiencing either for the first time or just doing that together with other folks, it's really, really sweet.
Like the last time you experienced a deep belly laugh where it just makes you cry because you're laughing so hard. I mean, we were laughing so hard that we just were so off course when we were paddling. Like to be able, like a couple days into a trip, to just laugh that way, where it was such a gut ache afterwards. But it just was a bonding moment and a way to connect.
And we were even luckier because on our paddle back from the pictographs to camp, we had one of those special times when a big lake turns to glass and it becomes a reflecting mirror.
The water was just like glass. The reflection of the rocks on the shore sides were just mesmerizing. They were just so cool, all the little creatures. Yeah, I just like kind of felt like you were in an upside down world almost. It was really awesome. That was probably something I'll never forget.
As we paddled by, you in some ways couldn't tell which way was up and which way was down because the sky was so perfectly reflected. It's just so enchanting.
I would say, like, especially on this trip, there's nothing been, like, at least what I've experienced, like nothing like over the top, like gushy, ooshy, like, oh, big puddles of cuddles, but it's been just like very intentional, like witnessing that each other like exists and is alive and plays a part within each other and ourselves, but like in this wilderness as well. For me, it's woven into me a lot deeper than like fun campy time. I don't know. I just will forever stand by that. Like my hope forever is just like that people get to like to bear witness to the wilderness, of any wilderness it would be for them. That you allow it to like bear witness to you as well and like receive that, you know. And like I'm not here to use nature and like conquer nature. Like when you let it look at you and like you can like kind of like immerse into it and just be held by it too. If I could just give everybody a simple gift, like that would be it. Just once. I mean, because then people would just do it on their own after that, you know, kind of addicting. But it's for you, like it's for you, it's for me, it's for us, right? Forever and ever. Respectfully, as you respect it. Yeah, that's it.
I mean, I think as queer people, we have to remember that we are living in a world that was not built for us. So in our daily existence, so oftentimes we have up walls and barriers to protect ourselves, and where we're sort of always attuned to what are people saying, how are they acting, do I need to code switch, do I need to hide who I am for my own physical safety, because of the violence that has traditionally been done upon queer people. And if you doubt that, just Google, queer violence, and you'll find plenty of examples. We all grew up as queer people in a world that was not built for us. We have these defenses, and we therefore spend our time and our energy on those defenses rather than getting to be fully human. And so we're just fighting to survive. And in spaces like this, we get to thrive. And you can focus on growing and blossoming in all these amazing ways that nature does every spring. It comes to life. And so I think this trip for queer people is our spring. It's our opportunity to bloom and blossom and be more than just, a bud hiding in the ground, but come out to the world to see our beauty.
I see this trip as each and every one of us just being able to move forward together and help others be who they are in the outdoors.
I'm excited to come back to the Boundary Waters and to learn about people's backgrounds that are much different than mine and also really similar in some ways too. And I think people have been so respectful of each other and letting them tell their story and not assuming anything about anybody. And that space where we're not following the scripts that we're supposed to, where we're sharing things in our own words, I think that's a really special part about what this trip has been as well.
I think sometimes when we feel like we're not worthy, when we say it out loud and there's someone there to be like, you absolutely are, and you're absolutely part of this community, that just like, I don't know, it feels like your heart kind of explodes. Like, okay, they are accepting, like we all are accepting, and we all need to be in these spaces and feel welcomed and comfortable enough to talk about the type of queerness we are, you know, because we're all so different, and we don't have to have that certain label to be a part of this community. So I'm just like, that's so freaking cool. It's so cool and comforting to know that it's out there. And maybe if I would have spoke about it a little bit more, that it might have helped someone else too, that maybe was feeling the same way. I mean, this group is just amazing, amazing. It's like everything I think I needed in the outdoor world, really. Yeah, this group is so helpful. Super grateful.
But what's really special is when I travel with people and they really seem to get it. And it's an emotional connection, and it's sort of a home feeling, sort of a connection. One of the things that made this trip so special to me is that it felt like I could share that with people who I could be my true self around as an out gay man, and they could sort of share in my experience of loving this place. And they were also a group of people who just kind of who got it as far as the place, but also sort of got me. Like, we just shared two levels of connection, which is something I'd never experienced actually when I was out there. And it's a place that I love so much, and, you know, my favorite place in the world. And to see people appreciate that, but also appreciate all of me at the same time, which I really felt from this group of people, was really special for me.
At the end of the day, each one of us is responsible for living out the honest truth of our complex being. At times, we must travel that journey alone, and occasionally we find someone who will hold up a mirror to reflect back our worth and value. These people create the space where we are truly seen, told we are enough, and gather the strength to carry on. Thank you to all those who create that space of belonging and hold up mirrors to show us who we really are.
Sometimes those of us who don't know where we fall and sometimes feel a little bit like trapped between worlds, we need to hear that message from them.
Say that message loud and clear one more time.
You're gay enough to be here.